In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. Girlfriend I was going to marry cheated on me. So I am a 29-year-old guy and my girlfriend is 33. We have been together for 7 years total. We recently talked about getting married and I had already proposed and we were already making plans for the marriage. I had the rings already too. Well, one day I was at work and I decided to come home early from work. I called my girl multiple times and no answer. A few texts and again no answer. I got kinda worried something happened to her, so I sped home. I called right before arriving and again no answer. I walked in the front door and I heard my nightmares coming from the master bedroom. I peeked through a crack in the door and it was confirmed she was cheating. I slowly crept away. I took my ring off and left it on the dinner table with a note I wrote that said, "I hope you had fun. Here is your freaking promise ring." I walked out and sat in my truck for about 5 minutes thinking. I turned the engine on and revved it as loud as I could for a few seconds just so she could hear I was around, and I just left. Since it was a Friday, I called up my cousin and asked if I could spend the weekend at his house. He asked what happened, but I said I had to tell him in person. I got to his home and I stayed in my truck and asked him to come out. I was crying and told him what happened. He gave me a brotherly hug and his wife and my aunt came out. They were confused as to why I was really upset, and my cousin explained what happened since I could barely talk. A while later I was receiving a lot of phone calls and texts from my girlfriend saying to come home, that she wanted to talk with me. My cousin's wife answered and said I was too busy and couldn't talk. The night came that day and I was just laying in bed all day. Then I got a message from one of my girlfriends and she said she wanted to talk to me about what happened. I told her to promise me my girlfriend wouldn't be there and my dumbass believed her. I met her at Mexican food place and she had ordered some food for both of us, but I couldn't eat and barely talk. We sat for a few minutes just talking about how I felt and she out of nowhere apologized. I asked why and she looked at the door and my girlfriend walked in. I tried to quickly walk back to my truck to drive off, but they both pulled me back and begged me to calm down. We sat in the parking lot and my girlfriend was just crying and saying how she was sorry and how she wanted to fix things, but I just looked around avoiding looking at her face and I stayed silent. She asked where I was staying and I just said with my cousin. She came to hug me, but I lightly pushed her off and left back to my cousin's place. At his house we just chilled outside and we had a blunt so I could feel a little better and so I would be able to sleep. The next day my phone was bombarded with texts and missed phone calls, but I just ignored it again. My cousin said to feel free and stay as long as I needed, but I didn't want to invade his family and personal life, so I told him I would get a hotel, but he told me to stay in the second house on the property in which my aunt lived. I made sure it was okay with her, so I decided it was okay. I drove back home to get clothes and some personal items, and when I got there my girlfriend was there with her friend crying. I walked past them and ignored them and quickly left again. I went back to my cousin's and tried to get my mind off of it, but it was really hard, so I had another blunt to calm down. I really wish I had my mother, but she was gone, and my father, well, I never met him. My girlfriend showed up an hour later at my cousin's house. She tried to come talk, but my family was trying to tell her to go away. I came out and decided to try and listen to what she had to say. I noticed she still had her ring on and told her who she was going to marry, and she started acting hysterical and crying like a baby. She tried to stick around, but I told her if she needed someone to go with her other man since he was so much better than me, and it was starting to get heated. My cousin's wife then said to calm down and she drove her back to my house. Lately I have been sleeping at my cousin's aunt's house, but now I'm lost. Any advice? That shit hit me harder than any punch I have ever taken. Edit. Holy shit, I have lost 20 pounds since and I'm not in shape anymore. Thanks for the helpful comments. I really appreciate it. Edit number 2. So I am transferring home ownership to her name. I really don't care about money. I have enough to do what I want to. In a little I am going to go get all of my belongings. Will update what happens later. Edit #3. I went to get my personal belongings from the house. She was there with some friends crying and shit. One of her friends asked to please talk to her and to give her a chance. I said hell no. Again they tried to follow me. I threatened to call the cops and they sat me down to talk. Again she was crying and begging that she will do anything. I looked at my shoes the whole time. She tried to lift my face up to look at her, but I looked away, got up and left immediately. I drove back to my brother's place and I'm here now, all hurt all over again. Honestly, I'm freaking done. I feel like shit and like I just want to give up already. Edit 4. She said she is moving out. So I am selling the house now. She is no longer keeping it. Now I'm just thinking about buying my next house. Edit 5. I'm going to stay at a hotel for now while I look for another home. I don't want to bug or disrupt my family's personal lives too much. TLDR, girlfriend I was about to marry cheated on, kept on trying to contact me after I left the house for a while. Got her friends to try and convince me to get back with her. Story 2. My wife of 22 years cheated on me with my brother 17 years ago. Not even sure where to start this story. My wife and I dated all of high school and went to college together. We have literally been each other's everything since we were 14. We were each other's firsts. We married at 20 and had a kid at 23. We scratched our way up to middle class from literally nothing. It would be an understatement to say that our lives are so intertwined that separating would be catastrophic for both of us. I love this woman with every fiber of my being, which makes this betrayal so much more difficult. Fast forward a few years to 2006, when our daughter is 2 years old. My brother, 5 years older than me, is recently divorced from his wife. He was trying to get back on his feet, so I wanted to help in any way I could. I offered him our spare room for as long as he needed it. We cooked for him, cleaned up behind him, and helped him get his life together. After a few months, I noticed that he and my wife were buddying up a lot more than normal. I started noticing things that didn't quite sit right. I am yada-ing a lot of details, but eventually they started texting all the time and talking on the phone when he wasn't at our house. I knew there was something going on, but every time I brought it up, I was made to feel like a jealous idiot. After a while, there was little to no attempt to hide it. I went into a dark spiral of depression. The only thing that kept me going was my daughter. This went on for several months. One day I finally checked my wife's phone and saw that they had been sexting. My world absolutely fell apart. Trying to be the bigger person, I called them both together for a sit-down. They both agreed that nothing had ever been physical. They looked into my eyes and swore to me that the sexting was the extent of the affair. I swallowed my pride and tried to forgive in an effort to keep my family together. I would not hesitate to say that this incident broke my brain. I have suffered from severe depression and anxiety as a direct result of this betrayal. Fast forward 17 years to present day. My wife and I have had another child. Our lives are finally becoming comfortable. Life is good. On some idle Wednesday, my wife and I were talking and I caught her in a small lie. After needling her for hours, she finally admitted to kissing, snuggling, over-the-clothes fondling, sending nudes, and phone sex. My life seemed to fall apart worse than it did 15 years ago. I called my entire life into question, including the fatherhood of my second daughter. She has his blue eyes. I spoke with my brother and let him know that I had my wife's side of the story, but now I needed his. Based on how they matched up would decide on how drastically I would take this. I used everything in my power to interrogate him for hours. For the most part, their stories lined up. There was a lot of I don't remember from both of them though. I highly doubt that is something easily forgotten. I let him know that we were done and to never contact anyone in my family again. During the interrogation, I caught them in a lie about when the affair ended. They had promised me that the affair had ended back when I caught them the first time 17 years ago. However, through some Sherlock-level observations, I proved that their affair kept going after I caught them. This devastated me. I was so fragile, betrayed, and broken I considered just ending it so many times. And she knew this. They both did. It kills me to know that I was so close to ending myself and she couldn't keep herself from him. Fast forward a month. After catching my wife in more lies, her entire story unraveled and she admitted to having sex with him while she was at a work conference. She claims that this only happened once and that it was very awkward because he couldn't maintain an erection. She said she faked an orgasm he finished and then he immediately left. According to her, they never had any more physical contact and my brother married another woman and has been with her ever since. I may be a fool, but I am confident that the affair ended about 6 months after I caught them the first time. I don't know if I should believe that she has been faithful ever since. So anyways, here I sit. I have been married to this woman that I adore for 22 years. Our entire lives are woven together, so much so that I question if either of us can function without the other. I feel betrayed all over again. My wife is telling me that she lied to me to save our marriage and that I can't hold her responsible for dumb things she did 17 years ago. I am really trying to make peace with this, but I don't have a clue where to go from here. Is it worth ruining my life and decimating my family to teach my wife a lesson about something she did 17 years ago? Am I just being an idiot for believing her? I honestly don't know, but I feel that dark abyss of depression slowly creeping back to the front of my mind. It frankly scares the hell out of me and I don't know where to go from here. I am trying to maintain some semblance of normality for my youngest daughter. She has 4 years of high school left, so my plan right now is to move into our basement for the next 4 years. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I don't feel like a man. I have lost all confidence in myself. I just feel like some useless weakling that can't stand up for himself and has been made a fool of time and time again. Please help me, anonymous strangers of Reddit. Update: everything went sideways this morning. I caught her in another lie and finally she admitted that they had sex multiple times in Fleabag Highway motels while I was away for work, just like so many of you said. So a slight change in plans. I have a lawyer. My daughters both know. Her family knows. She is moving to the basement until alternative arrangements can be made. I will be keeping the house. Thank you all for your kind words and support. Update 2. I am doing a little better. My brother still refuses to respond to me. I am pretty sure that he blocked my number. So, I decided to tell his wife, his ex-wife, his daughter, as many of his friends as I knew, and his employer. If I can't have my pound of flesh, I will spread chaos in his world. Despite not having anyone to turn to, I feel like I am in a better place. I honestly thank all you anonymous internet strangers for giving me the pickup I needed. Out of all the posts and replies, I don't think I got a single negative one. That speaks to all of your quality and caliber. This will probably be my last update. I promise I will pay it forward. Story 3. My wife of nearly 7 years, 10 years together, and she wants to replace me. Well, my wife of nearly 7 years told me 2 days ago she was seeing a guy and had been for about 8 months. I had my suspicions, especially recently, but I held her to a high moral standard and never thought she could be capable of doing something so hurtful and disrespectful. During this 8-month period, she and I had drinks, dinner, etc. with this guy who conveniently had just got divorced and who I had considered a friend. So here we are having dinner, drinks, hanging out, and the whole time my wife and him were putting on an act like everything was normal. I told her that as of that day, either he's dead to you or I am. And then the crushing blow came. She said she wants to continue seeing him. She says she loves me and loves him. I asked how it could equate almost 7 years of building a life, love and relationship to an 8-month affair. She couldn't answer that but said she was sorry that she hurt me. I told her if she was truly sorry she would have broken it off and put her attention on us. I am stunned, pissed, embarrassed that I didn't see the signs, but most of all, I am sad and broken-hearted. I'm not going to beg to have her back. I have accepted my fate and will move on. If those of you who have gone through this have any advice, I appreciate it and thank you for taking time to read my story. Update. First, I want to say thank you to all the love and support from this group. Sharing your experiences and advice have really helped. Short summary of my story: my wife had been having an affair for 8 months with a recently divorced coworker. My wife and I had dinner, drinks, and hung out like we were all friends, and they acted completely normal the whole time. She said she wants to keep seeing him but still loves me. So here's what has transpired since that post. Her whole family knows and they are not happy with her at all. They have all reached out to me giving support and telling me they love me and I will always be family to them. Her sister is pissed and doesn't even want to see her. She has claimed that after we divorce she will not be anywhere near this guy nor bring her son around him. They have been really close as sisters and her taking my side was huge. I have made myself unavailable and busy this whole weekend to her. I have set up a consultation with a lawyer for this Tuesday to start divorce proceedings. I have begun looking at housing options but may try to buy her out and keep the house. Also, since she makes more than me, I will be filing for spousal support. I know there is still a rough read ahead and some work to be done, but I am feeling good about where things are going. I think some folks have asked whether we have kids. We do not, so what? They less complicated and no reason for her to contact me after I am gone. I couldn't have gotten through these first few days without all of you on here and I am eternally grateful. I plan to pay it forward by sharing my story in the future once I have healed and help others as you have helped me. Much love, Survivor fam. I will update as things progress. Update 2. So for those that have been following along, my wife confessed on May 23rd of having an 8-month affair with her coworker. Even after confessing, she still professed her love for him and wanted to continue seeing him. So my response was to retain an attorney for $5,000 and file for divorce. I will also be nailing her ass for alimony payments as well. Strangely enough, right after I filed she suddenly had an epiphany and came running back to me, wanting to make things better and work on our relationship. I told her I would think about it but I wasn't sure. The only reason I gave her that response is because I want to keep her in good standing while I'm still processing this divorce, but let it be known the divorce is happening. There's no going back. It's a final decision for me. She doesn't know that I filed for divorce and I plan on keeping that way just so I can keep it amicable until we can get the house sold, but she's going to get served around September and then all hell is going to break loose, but it doesn't really matter to me. I've made my decision. I plan to move on with my life and I suggest anybody else who's been in the situation do the same. I will keep you posted as more progress happens. Final update. So it has been a while since I've updated everyone, but I've made some really good progress. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I have come to a financial division agreement. My lawyer has now sent us back to CR2A farm with all of our financial division agreements on it. Now we just need to sign it and send it back in and then it gets applied to the courts. Once I get the green light, either from the court or from my lawyer, I will begin putting up the house for sale. This has been a trying process just because I've been trying to keep patient through all of this. But I've received a lot of support from you guys, for my family and friends. It's really helped me to make decisions and progress through where it needs to be. I feel better every day, and as more steps get taken care of, I bought LifeLock so all my finances and my credit report and everything are all protected. And I've even had a few dates along the line just to create a distraction so that I'm not completely without social interaction. All in all, I feel pretty good not turning back from my decision, and for anyone who is considering, take it from me, it's the best decision you'll ever make. I know it's not an easy one, but you have to stop and think about what's best for you and what's best for you going forward in your life. I will try to send an update once the agreement has been signed and once we start moving forward with getting the house for sale. Thank you for everyone who's giving me the support on here and who's been following, and I'm sorry it took a while to get the updates, but I wanted to hit a major benchmark before I did so. Story 4. Married for nearly 2 decades, 4 kids with another on the way. Just found out she is cheating on me via our oldest child. Found out some devastating news from our 14y divided by O, and I'm debating on whether I should keep fighting for this marriage. She cheated on me. My wife, my partner in crime, my best friend, the freaking mother to my kids, and now I'm even unsure if they're my kids. I haven't told my wife that I know about her affair, and frankly I don't want to. I've been with her for so long that I don't know if I can live without her. I don't know how long she and this guy have been meeting up. I hope it's only been a couple of times, because that'll be easier to get over. I'm trying to keep myself together for my 14y divided by O, but it's hard. Whenever I get a chance by myself I have a breakdown. I don't get what I did to cause her to do this. I thought I was a good husband, a good father, and a good friend. Turns out I may have been crap. I found out about the affair a couple days ago from my 14y divided by O. I've reassured her that nothing is wrong, and I'll have me and her mother explain it. I'm thinking about just telling her that me and her mom have an open relationship to keep this under wraps, to just make it not look like she cheated on me. I've just been going through the motions. My wife, she's still with her parents. She's still barely talking to me. Now I know why. Maybe if I tell her I know about her affair she'll end it and come back home. We have a good life together, we're good together. I feel like I'm rambling. If this was my brother and I found out his wife cheated on him and he was talking like how I am now, I'd grab him by the collar and set him straight. I've watched films of this stuff, heard about it, and even watched shows where the couple talks about how they get past infidelity. I would think, they're so stupid, just get divorced. I'd never forgive my wife if she cheated on me. But now I'm in the same shoes and I sound just like them. From what I saw so far it was just emotional and nudes, but my daughter had taken plenty of pictures and I've only seen about 4 so far. There's at least 30. I feel that if I go through the rest of these photos it'll confirm that she may have been having this affair for a long time. My daughters might not even be my kids. If I go public with this it won't just turn my world upside down, it'll affect my daughters too. I don't want to hurt them like that. I only eat when my daughters are around me to keep up the facade that everything's fine. But when she's away I'm throwing up and shaking. This isn't just some high school relationship. This is the woman I've built a life with. I know what I should do, but I don't want to. Over the last few days I've realized how much my life circles around my wife and kids. If I dig any further into this I just might break. If you've been married, are married, in a long-term relationship with kids and a home, how do you get past this? Do I just quietly confront her and do marriage counseling? Or do I just keep this from her and get her to come back home and act as if I know nothing about this? Update. I know that I should probably start looking into a solicitor, separating our finances, and collecting even more evidence. But I stupidly want to try and fix this, or at least not hate and love her at the same time. I planned on lying to my daughter to cover up for her mother, but my daughter is a smart cookie. There's no way she'd actually believe it. How do I navigate my way through something like this? I don't want to be filled with hatred and let our kids see it. Once I initiate this divorce all of ours will turn upside down. I just don't want this to ruin our kids. If I do a DNA test on the girls I know it would probably hurt them. We have 4 kids, all girls. There's a slight chance the twins may not be my children. Just typing this makes my head hurt. I've been calling out of work, but I need to get my head on straight. Update 2. Last post was removed. I've confronted my wife. She was remorseful but she doesn't regret it. She loves him. Her parents knew about the affair. They discovered it long before I did. They had been helping them by having my wife and her AP meet at their home. Why were her parents helping her instead of being decent people? They didn't want to risk being humiliated. Her parents are heavily involved in the church in our town. Also didn't want to separate the twins from their real dad. 14y divided by O and 10y divided by O are staying with my brother and Sil. I don't have the strength to be able to take care of them right now. They hate their mother and refuse to speak to her. They're both in therapy. I am too. I tried to take the twins so they could be with their sisters, but my wife put up plenty of resistance. I'm positive AP is with her at the moment, seeing his car heading towards my IL house as I left. AP was also married. I've been in contact with his wife and she says she's filing for divorce. I haven't asked her if AP has tried to work things out, and frankly I don't care. EFF him. EFF my wife. EFF my stupid in-laws. I always thought IL were uptight assholes anyways. I'm glad they're all being ostracized. Mil and Phil have been kicked out of the church, and from the looks of the church's social media page, they deleted anything related to them. I'm glad they're being humiliated. The one thing they fear the freaking most is happening. Mil called me crying, wanting me to clear the situation up. Phil wanted me to work things out, but I simply asked if it was him in this situation, would he be working things out? He answered with silence before hanging up. Wife has been trying to reach out to me, but I refuse to answer her. I get just a tiny bit happy seeing how frantic she is to contact me. I don't know what she wants, and I don't want to speak to her anytime soon. I know I'll eventually have to. Before I got the results, I was ready to take her to court and get custody of the twins. I'm pathetic. Going to work is a struggle. My coworkers look at me with pity. I don't even grocery shop anymore. I can feel everyone looking and whispering. I've lost about 15 pounds since this whole thing came to light. I barely get any sleep. Therapy is not helping. This has been the worst year of my life. I wish I had kept my mouth shut in the car a few months ago. If I had, then I'd be enjoying time with the newborn and decorating the house. The house is silent. It should be loud with my daughters laughing or arguing. I should be changing a diaper. I should be hearing my wife try to outperform Mariah Carey. The house should smell sweet and be warm. Dirty diapers should be in a trash bag waiting to be thrown out. I should be smiling and laughing. This house should be filled with happiness and life. Now it's just cold, empty and quiet. Everything I did was for nothing. I had a sad childhood. I wanted a happy adulthood. I can't ever seem to freaking win. I always lose. I don't feel like a man. I don't even feel human. Story 5. My wife drove 10 hours to spend the weekend with another man. Need support. So I'm very new to all of this, but I feel like I have a pretty crazy story to share, and I need some help from the people that have had to unfortunately deal with this type of thing as well. I apologize beforehand for the wall of text. Background info: I am a 39 meters, my spouse is 36F. We've been together for 16-ish years, married almost 14 years. We have 2 boys, 12 and 9. My wife and I have always gotten along very well in the past. There's obviously been arguments or disagreements, but we never fight. We have always been able to communicate pretty effectively. My wife is a hairstylist by trade, and I am a nurse. She was also an educator for a major brand name and really enjoyed what she did. For me, I have continued to grow in my career, and about 5 years ago, I accepted a director role. During this time I was making good money, and since my wife is a hairstylist, she was missing out on a lot with our boys, so we made the decision for her to be a stay-at-home mom for the boys, but keep her education role because she truly loved it. Then COVID hit, and no more education jobs now either. Once COVID slowed a bit, I took another promotion. So now I'm making really good money, and we're not concerned that she isn't working. Then boom, September of 2020, our oldest is diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. This was a huge lifestyle change for us, and ultimately caused a lot of stress, anxiety, depression for both of us. So over the past few years, we have slowly grown apart. Date nights disappeared totally for the next 2 years. We both became distant to each other and kind of became roommates during this time instead of partners. During all of this, I am 100% accepting of the fact that I wasn't the best husband. I kind of left her on an island, and I wish I could change it, but unfortunately, I can't. I was there physically, but I wasn't there emotionally. Since she wasn't working, I expected her to care for our son's blood sugar during the night since I had to be up early for work. I expected her to do the household chores during the day. On the flip side, she began to resent me for not helping around the house or helping as much at night with crazy blood sugars. For a couple that had once been great at communicating, we no longer communicated at all. We'd high-five at the door with busy work schedules and super busy sports schedules with our boys, and stopped taking time for each other. During all of this, my wife began playing a video game with our boys called Fortnite. She really enjoyed it and started playing even when the boys were not. She would play late at night after I went to bed, and she would stay up playing while she monitored our son's blood sugar. It got to the point that she would literally be playing when I got up, got home from work, and went to bed. With this game, she created an online group of friends. And over the past 6 months, this group of 6 people would play together all the time. This is where the infidelity begins. She befriended this one guy in particular. I didn't do this out until later, but she was chatting with him on Instagram regularly. She sent him a gift in the mail, and then she made up this huge lie to go visit him. She told me one of her friends from her days as an educator was opening a new salon and was wondering if my wife could come for the weekend and help with her grand opening. My wife told me this story, and having zero reason not to believe or trust her, I was totally okay with it. She drove 10 hours away to spend the weekend with this guy she met online. For whatever reason, while she was gone, I got onto our iCloud account and noticed a bunch of recently deleted photos. My heart sank when I saw them. Nothing sexual, but I now knew what was happening. She essentially shut her phone off the entire trip and barely communicated with me or the boys while she was gone for 4 days. Ultimately, she came home, lied about the trip, and I confronted her about what was really going on. It took her a few hours, but she finally came clean about what she did. She is adamant that it was solely a friendship, that nothing sexual happened, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. She left and spent the weekend with another man. The trip happened about 6 weeks ago. After the initial shock, we actually had some great conversations. We opened up about how we ended up where we are, how we got to this place in our relationship. It truly was the best conversation we had had in years. During all of this, she never tried to downplay what she did. She took 100% responsibility for her actions, and through all of that we decided that we were going to try to make it work. We both said that we loved each other, and that divorce is not what either of us wanted. I also have started seeing a therapist during this time as well. If not, I think I would lose my mind. The one thing that I asked her to do after all of this was to please block 100% of contact with this guy. She agrees. Ultimately, she deleted Fortnite and she deleted all of her social media apps. Fast forward to 2-3 weeks ago. We are driving to my son's baseball game, and I notice she has Snapchat on her phone. I look at her and say, "Is that Snapchat?" She quickly denies it. Once we get to the game, I walk up behind her and she is logging out of Snapchat. So I just walk away. She finds me, apologizes, and hands me her phone and begs me to look through it, but I'm not interested at this point. Later that night, we argue about it and I tell her to get out of the house. Ultimately, cooler heads prevail and she stays. Fast forward to the next weekend. I decided to stalk this guy's TikTok account, and who do I see as one of his followers? My wife. This leads to another huge fight where I tell her she needs to go and I want a divorce. We slept in separate beds that night, and again, I didn't pull the trigger and push the issue of her leaving. Now fast forward to just a few days ago, I bust her playing Fortnite with this guy online. I actually look at her phone later that night as well and see a message to one of her other online friends that says I'm so ridiculous. I wish name would get on so we could all play together. Another huge fight. This time I say I'm done. I pack all my stuff and leave and spend the night at my brother's place. Ultimately, I'm sleeping back in our house. We had tickets for my youngest son to attend his first ever MLB game set a night, and we had amusement park tickets for today. So for the boys, we all did these things together. We had another long talk this morning. She said that the only way this works is if I get my anger outbursts under control, and I stopped snooping through her phone. So I did get a hold of my therapist today and he referred me to an anger management group session, which I signed up for this Wednesday night. She told me again today that she would cut him out and she would stop playing Fortnite, because it wasn't worth it. She said she wanted to go to marriage counseling, and she still says she doesn't want to get divorced. I woke up 3 hours ago and walked downstairs, and she's sitting on the couch playing Fortnite. Granted, she wasn't playing with that guy, but I bet she would have been if he would have been online too. She literally told me this morning that she was never going to play again, and here we are. I am done fighting over it. I just told her good night and walked away. I'm not going to lie. I have been very overbearing towards her for the past 6 weeks as well since she has returned. Obviously, I have lost all trust in her. I want to know every move she makes, where she's going, who she is going with. This has been really frustrating for her as well. And I get it, but I don't know how to get past this part of it. All I know is if there is any chance of making it past this, I have to be able to step back a bit, but it has been really hard for me to figure out how to do that. Or if I even should. So, I'm not too sure how this will end up, but I think I have a pretty good feeling of where we are heading. I hate it too, because I truly do still love her, and I think that she really does still love me, but I don't know if we are in love anymore. I'll update as we go, but not sure if counseling will be able to help us at this point. Update: I have a meeting set up with a local divorce attorney tomorrow to advise me on next steps. You are all wonderful people. I will keep you updated on the process. TLDR, my wife and I drift apart. She makes a guy friend playing online games. She lies about a work trip and drives 10 hours away to spend the weekend with him. She says she doesn't want a divorce and has agreed that marriage counseling is needed to help us, but continues to lie to me and refuses to completely cut interaction with this guy.